Dale, we're sitting down for your next update on the club, and first of all, we're just starting the football side, and can you provide us a bit of update of how that's going and what's happening on that front at the moment?
Yeah, Gareth, so I think the last time I sat down with yourself was February time. I think supporters begin to get intrigued as to where the football department lies as we move towards the end of the season. Myself, Dougie and the chairman sit down once a week to review the whole football operation, and the feeling is we know the direction of travel and where we want to get to. I think people probably appreciate the challenges that we've faced over the past few months in terms of injuries to key players, the competitive nature of the league. I think with 4 or 5 games to go, we could still finish in 6 of the places in the league, which is over half. But I think the important thing to stress is we're all wanting to go in the same direction. We all want to make things better, and I think it's testament to Dougie and his staff and the players that even in that challenging period that we've had, where again we've been hit with a few injuries, we've managed to come through it and we're still fighting in the top half of the division. I think as we look towards the summer, it'll probably become clearer once the season ends, but we're in a position where we know what we want to do and how we want to do it, and it's certainly the end of one chapter and the start of the next, as every season is, but we're certainly working very hard on all fronts to make sure that we're as prepared as possible for what comes.
Yeah, at this time of the season, how hard is it to plan forward and get the wheels in motion for what the club wants to achieve?
It's very difficult, given that, as I just touched on, you could still finish in 6 of the positions in the league, from fourth right down to 9th. So until you know where you finish up, it's always going to be a challenge. But it also, we tasked Dougie some time ago with putting together what his identity and his football strategy was. He's done that. I have to say it was a fantastic body of work, and he's done excellent for the club with that, and it's helping us all to really shape what comes next. There's still a lot to play for this season, and that's the exciting part, and these next 4 or 5 games are going to be vitally important, and we need everyone to be pushing in the same direction, which we have done for most of the campaign.
And on the side of the women's team, it's been a bit of a season of change for them at the moment, and so with them, what's the discussions been like with Morton and the community?
So, as most people are probably aware, the women's team currently sits under Morton and the community, not under the football club. Myself and the chairman have held really positive conversations with Morton and the community as to how we can help support and develop and grow the women's team. It is obviously one of the fastest growing areas of football, and we don't want to get left behind. We want to be at the forefront of that. I was asked to conduct a lengthy review of the women's team operation, having had some experience in that part of the game and been involved in setting up a women's departments and teams over time, and the report is very conclusive, and we want to make sure that we all work together again with Morton and the community to make sure that we can best enable the women's team here, and more importantly the women's pathway, which Brian and his team and the community have done a fantastic job of setting up and driving, and how the club can better support that.
And fan experience is something that you've spoken about a lot since you've come in. We had our first audit. How did that go?
It was telling, but in a positive way. I believe when you open yourself up to being reviewed and scrutinised, that it only helps you. We've taken a framework from somewhere else I've been, and we've used that as the means of rolling out what we want family excellence and a family environment to look like at Greenock Morton. The results we went through pretty specifically with the team of staff here in this boardroom a week ago, and there's a lot to improve on, there's a lot to get better at, but it's all opportunity, it's all areas that we look forward to getting better at and working hard to develop for the people that come to the terraces every second week for our home games. We have a duty to them to put on the best experience possible, and hopefully we can do that moving forward, and this report certainly gives us the grounds to do so.
Staff additions is something else that you've spoken about previously, and bringing more people into the club. We've recently advertised for a stadium and facility manager. How's that went, and can you give us a bit of info on more of what the role is?
So obviously the applications for that closed last week. We now have the CVs that we will go through in great detail. This role for me is a very, very important one. I think people realise some of the challenges that we have with Capello. It's a very poignant stadium in terms of it is one of the last old school type stadiums, but with that comes challenges that we have to meet head on. That's what we want this role to do. There's also a big bit to be done around compliance in the stadium in terms of making sure that the relevant checks, etc., are all carried out on a weekly, monthly basis. And we want to make sure that the person coming into the building to do this job is going to give it the best possibility to make Capello a better version of what it is right now. And that goes for everyone, not just the stadium, but the staff as well. We all want to become better versions of what we are. And this role will certainly add to that. It will add to the team, which again is important. And I can't stress that enough, that we're probably one of the clubs in this league with the least amount of staff. And it does become a big, big challenge. But this role specifically gives us the ability and the capability to begin to action some of the points that we're bringing forward on a daily, weekly and monthly basis.
And last week as well, we provided an update, a governance update around the club. In terms of that with the insurance brokers and in terms of the child wellbeing protection side of things, what's the workload around that and moving forward with that?
It's probably the bit in football that nobody really wants to talk about because it's not sexy, and it's not interesting and it's not based around players or football on the pitch. But it is vitally important, and it was, an area when I came into the club that I identified that we needed to strengthen. I've been very lucky with the support of the board that we've been able to move things forward. We've introduced our insurance brokers, as you say, Gallagher's, who have given us some really, really good, insightful reports on where we need to get better. They've carried out an extensive fire risk assessment report of the stadium, an extensive health and safety report of the stadium, and they're now working with us on how we get better. We've already implemented a range of new policies within the stadium to best protect everyone involved, whether that be staff, whether it be the club, whether it be supporters. We're beginning to see the fruits of the labour on that. There's also a big bit around e-learning with that staff are now being asked to complete some e-learning, which will develop their knowledge on where we need to get better across the entire football club. In terms of the introduction of the CPOMs and Staff Safe software, it's two software packages that are used quite a lot in England in relation to child wellbeing and protection. We do have a child protection and safeguarding working group, which comprises of people from different avenues across the club that are impacted by child protection in their day-to-day role. And what we want to do is make things better and make things more efficient for the people that are in post. And hopefully these systems allow us to do that. This isn't a case of bringing in things for the sake of bringing in things. These are things that we're bringing in for the sake of putting them into practice and then seeing the value that they contribute to the club in how we do our day-to-day jobs and making things more streamlined and more effective for the people in the building.
This time of the year, and I suppose the year as a whole, it's a big one for the club with the 150th anniversary. So just starting off on the events side of things, how are things shaping up for all of that going forward for the rest of the year? It's
been positive. Obviously, we had our first kind of an evening with there last month, and we had another one on the back foot in terms of myself, the chairman, and Brian from MCT. The events programme is right now still in the developmental stage. I've said this and I've gone on record a couple of times that the events diary for the 150th should probably have been done before I came in, but we've picked it up and we've gone with it. We are very close to being sold out for our Player of the Year Hall of Fame dinner, which is a very exciting prospect. We have our golf day, which is coming up very, very soon, and we're adding events to it on a regular basis. I'm sitting down with people from MCT in the next couple of weeks to look at how we can further develop that. But it's, as I said when I first came in, it's important we don't let the 150th go unmarked. There's already plans that we're finalising around 150th match day. We obviously, for some of these things, we have to wait for the fixtures for next year to come out to see where they fall. But it's an exciting period, and it's an exciting project for all the staff here who are involved to see how we can recognise and appreciate the journey this club's gone on over 150 years.
And for the club commercially, as a whole, away from not so much the 150th anniversary side of things, but obviously we've got the season tickets coming up, a new kit launch throughout the summer. So how's the club situated going into that?
We're situated well. I think this is one of these questions where I always feel like we have to go a wee bit backwards to go forwards, in terms of we have to appreciate our shortcomings before, and where we've not done things that good before, and then how we make it more professional and better now, and that means making sure that it's better for the supporters. Commercially, we have to be on it this year. There's no getting away from that I've set the commercial team a very, very big target this year, and we have to make sure that target is met. This club, as a community-owned club, is reliant on us having strong commercial revenues, and we need to make sure as a football club we achieve those. This is a club that, and I keep on saying it, is a heritage type club that is one of the oldest clubs in Scottish football and has, a resonance with people across Scotland certainly, but we need to make sure as a club we are hitting our markers, and commercially that's very, very important. Obviously, when we go into the summer, as you say, season tickets, new kit launch, trackside advertising, hospitality for next season, there's a lot of bases to cover, and we need people in this building at their mettle to make sure we achieve those targets and ambitions, because we can't afford not to.
You've spoken about the fan experience already, but in terms of for the fans and the community as a whole as well, we've obviously got that space behind the gym. So, how are things moving forward with that and the plans for a community hub?
I have to be brutally honest on this one, Gareth, slower than they should be. We've had a regular amount of visitors from different fields coming and looking at the land in terms of we're planning and how we're trying to develop this land. And it's not moving as fast as I would like it. I think some people know that I'm a pretty impatient person and I want things done tomorrow, and I have to temper myself sometimes on that. But we need to get, I said it when we launched the strategy, that we need to be judged on our actions, not our words, and we need to get this community hub area sorted as soon as we can. Hopefully in the next 2 to 4 weeks we will be able to give an update as to where we stand on it and what the direction of travel is going to be. And
just finally, Dale, for yourself, how would you assess your time in the role so far?
50-50, positive and negative. I think in the positive sense, we've managed to roll out a strategy that's given everyone at the club a direction of travel. We've managed to engage and re-engage with the community, with the business network in the local area. We've managed to, set strong targets for staff in-house now. We've made progression on the pitch, we've made progression off the pitch. But I'm not going to hide away from the fact that things are taking sometimes a wee bit longer than I would like. And everyone keeps on telling me I need to, just be patient and be calm. But there are so many opportunities that need to be explored. The areas of frustration are always going to be around people, and that's where we need to get better. There's a lot of pressure on every member of staff in this building, which comes from me because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and we need to start hitting serious markers. We've hit some really, really good markers this season since I've come in terms of hosting big cup games and ticking off certain boxes that we've needed to tick off. I want us to go that extra 10, 20, 30% now and really get to where we need to be. We have a really good nucleus of staff in the building, and we want to continue to develop those people. We have a very, very passionate fan base that we want to keep growing, and that falls on me and that falls on the club to do that. 5 months in football is in some ways a very short time. In my head it's a very long time, and the one bit with that is you want to make sure that every day you're in this building is a day that's worthwhile and a day that you're achieving something that you didn't achieve the day before. There's a lot of work that needs to go on at this football club. a lot of work, serious work, that needs to go on at this football club to keep pushing us forward and keep developing us. We have time frames on things. We've put some pretty significant targets on things and on people, and I want to make sure that every supporter of ours out there knows that we are working as hard as we can to achieve those. But I will be asking for more and more from everyone in the building to make sure we reach the objectives we want to achieve. We have a lot of passion on those terraces. That's a passion that's really fed into me, and I have to say, every conversation I've had with a supporter since I've been here I've really enjoyed, because you can see that all they want is the best for the football club, and that's what we aim to do as well. I think when you put us in comparison to a lot of teams, certainly in our division, a lot of people sometimes disregard us in the public domain, but I'm never worried about what people outside the building think, unless it's our supporters. I think what the most important thing is that our supporters, the staff in the building, myself, the board, we're all focused on what we can do and what we can affect. And if we do that, we'll not be a million miles away from where we need to be.